Kicking off the list at number 10, motorized roller skates. Okay, this first one they've been working on for a very long time. Motorized roller skates. What a dream this would be. This photo was taken at the Sunoco station in Hartford, Connecticut. Context aside, this is an odd one and it's pretty dangerous. A dude with a briefcase is filling up at a gas station and he's wearing roller skates. That man is Mike Dreschler. The year was 1956 and the motorized roller skate company of Detroit really thought they were onto something here. The roller skates only cost around $250, which today is around $2,400, and its max speed was 17 miles an hour, so it's not really a great deal at all. Now obviously this isn't a good idea. The image alone of the man pouring gasoline into Mike's backpack, no, we don't do that. The biggest problem here, aside from the, everything about it, was that they couldn't figure out brakes. Honestly, I'll take Heelys any day over these. Much more safe. Number 9. First photo of a black hole. Okay, at first glance, you may think this is a blurry photo of a distant star, and compared to some shots we have today of nebulas, this black hole doesn't seem impressive at first. But back in 2019, around 200 scientists from 20 different countries all put their big brains together in order to get a photo of a black hole at the center of the Messier 87 galaxy, 55 million light years away. But just how do you do this? How do they get a photo of something that sucks in light and all of matter? Well, the Event Horizon telescope shows us the dark center here, this hole that swallows all matter. It looks like a ring that you can maybe look around, but the light that we see in this photo, these radio waves that are represented, that's coming from all around the black hole, behind it, in front of it, to the side. It's actually impossible to see, but after the team made a virtual telescope the size of Earth, yeah, you heard me, they were able to see the radiation surrounding the black hole, therefore get this image. Black holes are something we barely understand in the science world alone, and the fact that we can see a blurry photo is more than we deserve, really. Number 8, the sun. While it's not recommended that we stare at it, the sun is pretty beautiful. As of today, we have one of the most crystal clear photos of the big red fireball. Photographer Andrew McCarthy layered together 150,000 different photos of the sun to create this 300 megapixel image for us to awe at. Now we can look at this and our eyes don't melt out of our heads. Now of course there's many steps that come into the picture, pun intended, in order to not go blind or light any fires. Andrew required a special telescope with numerous filters to do so. So if you're thinking of pointing your phone at a telescope and then pointing that at the sun, just don't do it. It's not gonna work. Number 7, time travelers. Ah yes, we love these on Most Amazing. It's a common theme in movies, Back to the Future, Looper, Avengers. Time travel plots are fun, but of course they're mainly nonsense. So when we see a case like the Cape Scott story, we can't help but be intrigued. Time travel or not, this is an interesting photo. It comes from Ray Peterson's book, The Great Cape Scott Story. That book was from 1974, but the actual photo in there was taken over 100 years ago. And in the photo we see this modern looking guy rocking shorts, messy surfer morning hair. He doesn't look like he's from this time period at all. And this has happened more than once, like the time traveling hipster. That was also a fun time. That was a photograph from the 40s, again, seems to feature a modern man. Now that one was debunked since, but this first guy with the shorts and the hair, like I'm pretty sure that's my cousin. This guy looks familiar. What the hell? That's not an early 1900s man at all. No chance. Time travel confirmed. Let us know in the comments. Number 6, worldwide selfie. The selfie Ellen took at the Oscars, I'll admit, that's up there. That's pretty good. Of course, right next to astronaut Michael Collins' photo of everybody in the world. Yeah, your parents were in this photo. How fun is that? They didn't even know it. In this photo, we have everybody alive at the time photobombing the main center of attention. We have Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong returning after their successful Apollo 11 mission back in 1969. When thinking of the astronauts who first went to the moon, we often forget about Michael Collins, but this photo he took is still so underrated. I can't even get 4 of my friends together for a single photo, and Michael got everybody in the world in one shot. Number 5, the first aerial photo. With technology today, we can map out our long commute easily. Google Street View it's honestly witchcraft. The fact that I can float around virtually or see the top of any building with a click of a button like on Google Earth, that's a privilege. Even if it's slow or glitchy, it's amazing. Also, drones, that bowling alley drone video, don't even get me started, that's crazy. The first aerial photograph, that was back in 1860. James Wallace Black took this one, not by using drones, but rather by using a hot air balloon. This lovely landscape is the town of Boston, and you're looking at it from around 2,000 feet. Another milestone in aerial photography, of course, is the first photo from space. This was much later in 1946. So next time you use a selfie stick in public, don't take it for granted, and also don't use a selfie stick in public. Number 4, the isolator. This image might seem haunting at first, definitely, but it's actually pretty ahead of its time. The isolator came long before noise cancelling mode or lo-fi beats to study and relax to. This goofy looking helmet was intended to block out noise and finally concentrate on finishing the that paper due at midnight. This was back in the early to mid 1900s when inventor Hugo Gernsback worked hours and hours to create this study buddy to block out the distractions in life. This is a powerful image because the things that distract us today, like Instagram, Messenger, dating apps, phones, anything really, none of those were even a concept back in 1925 when this device was needed, when it was revealed to the public. Focusing is hard. If you're working in a loud office and you're thinking it's a you problem, it's not. This guy had like 3 pencils and a wooden desk, and even so he's like, oh come on man, focus. Block these pieces of wood out. Like, he had nothing and he was still distracted. That's crazy. This device was useful, but of course it wasn't practical. Some light reading in the park. Yes, let me just pull out the isolator. Number 3, portable holding cell. Prisoner transport is always a risky game. When out in public, in any way, the odds that something goes wrong or they escape back into the real world go up significantly. And we don't want that depending who or what is in the back of that truck. The movie Con Air is about this exact situation unfolding. A timeless classic, if you ask me. Nicolas Cage, so good. And Dave Chappelle, yeah, good one. Well, back in the 1920s, we didn't have SWAT teams move around the worst of the worst. We had bike cops with cages. This portable jail cell is an early version of our police car, except doesn't work. The concept was perfect, but the fact that this guy in the cell can just reach out and grab the officer driving the motorcycle at any time, that's not ideal. The fact that he's less than a foot away, that's not relaxing in the slightest bit. A motorcycle sidecar, those are fun, those are a great time. If I had one of those, I wouldn't be here right now, nor would Chris. We'd be whipping around the town. You know who I wouldn't take around town? This guy. He's up to something. He looks suspicious. You can see on his face. He wants to grab him off the bike. Number 2, ice mask. Today you can go to Amazon and get a therapeutic gel face mask for like $20. If you're stressed or if you're trying to avoid puffy eyes, throw this in the freezer for a hot minute and then you're set. You can make your own aloe vera honey gel mask if you feel like. Just click any vlogger that says the word wellness in their bio and then you're set. Back in the 40s, Hollywood makeup artist Max Factor Jr. created the first face mask to reduce facial puffiness, and it looked way cooler. Again, pun intended. They didn't use freezer gels, instead just a bunch of ice cube shaped containers that froze individually and then they were stuck onto your face. It was an ice cube tray mask. Rather. It was actually invented to fight hangovers. That's one of the main reasons. How fun. It's a shame that this design never caught on because the ones today, they're no good. They don't work. They're not cold enough. Imagine busting this thing out during a lecture. Imagine having this underneath the isolator. God, you could do anything you wanted. Number 1. The first photo of Machu Picchu. It's currently a wonder of the modern world and it's kind of a big deal. Let's talk about it. Machu Picchu was built around 1450 AD. It was first discovered in 1911 by archaeologist Hiram Bingham when he and a small team were originally heading out to find the ancient city of Vilcabamba. But during their commute from Cuzco, they found this landmark instead. And I bet they're pretty jazzed about it. Yeah, sitting at 2,430 meters above sea level, Machu Picchu is a 14th century Inca citadel built from thousands and thousands of stones, with many weighing over 50 tons. And with Machu Picchu translating to Old Mountain, well, this seemed like an impossible build back then, hence the fact that it's a modern wonder of our world. We barely had animal power back then too. All we had were llamas, so I mean, we really don't know how we did this. They designed a perfect city with their bare hands. They slapped these giant rocks into each other without any problems at all. I mean, after 500 years of foul weather, nothing has yet to destroy this ancient city. I wonder if when Hiram Bingham took this photo, they knew over 100 years later that we would still be blown away by it. We know nothing about this still. This photo, it's all we have.
In our number 10 spot, we have the Queen's last photos. Look. These last photos of the Queen are not dark at all. Yes, I know the title of this video says dark, but I can't do it. I can't say that it is. The Queen literally looks so sweet in this photo, and there's nothing but light surrounding her. She reminds me so much of my granny. I hope they're having tea together in heaven. The Queen almost looks like an angel already here in these photos. In almost every one of these last shots shared, the Queen is smiling so big, as if she's just happy and not suffering or anything. Of course, the public doesn't know the details of her final days and what she might have gone through, but these photos would suggest that she was content in her favorite place, Balmoral, and just living up her final days on the planet. You could spin it and say that anyone's final days are dark, but nah, these are just bright and beautiful, and I refuse to associate them with the characterization of dark. In our number 9 spot, we have Princess Diana's last shots. Here we have a bunch of shots of Princess Diana in her final hours, getting into her car with her bodyguard and the man that she was seeing, Dodi Fayed. She was in Paris at the time when her car crashed, killing all of the passengers in the car. There is one final shot of Princess Diana with Dodi in an elevator, and Diana is looking directly at the elevator camera and smiling. The shot is quite eerie as you look at her beautiful smile and spirit having fun until the end. What makes them even more eerie is if there's a slight part of you that buys into the theory that the crash was an insider job. That always makes me so uncomfortable to think about, and it quite possibly makes looking at these images more chilling. In our number 8 spot, we have the Queen and Prince Philip. This is one of the last photos taken of Prince Philip at age 99 with Queen Elizabeth II. It's actually so sweet and sad at the same time as they look at a homemade wedding anniversary card from their grandchildren. The picture was taken to mark their 73rd wedding anniversary right before the prince passed away. Did y'all know that Prince Philip was already a Prince of Greece before he was married to Queen Elizabeth II and became Prince Consort and Duke of Edinburgh? Because I didn't. But honestly, I should have guessed. I feel like the royal family previously used to keep the bloodlines quite close and within the realm of the blue bloods, you know? Ever heard of the blue bloods theory, anyone? People believe that you're either programmed in your blood to be wealthy or poor. It's a really interesting thought and rabbit hole to go down, that's for sure. In our number 7 spot, we have the Queen and her grandson. One of the last photos of Queen Elizabeth II with Prince Louis, her grandson, is such a treat to look at. This photo was taken at the Queen's Platinum Jubilee in June 2022, and honestly, earlier that day you do see the Queen looking possibly a little distressed. She's frowning a lot and truly just looking a little uncomfortable, but in this moment captured of the Queen and Prince Louis, she literally looks particularly blissful. Prince Louis is holding his ears in the most comical way, appearing a little distressed from the noise, I'm sure, of, you know, thousands of Brits below him that had come to honor the Queen in her celebrations. We have seen some other smaller royals do something similar when on the balcony in the past, but no one can deny that Prince Louis certainly is full of life and personality, and so it's really just a funny shot to see. Albeit sad though that perhaps the prince's last photo wasn't a smiling one, but I bet his adult self will appreciate the lightness of it. In our number 6 spot, we have the Jubilee family photo. The last photo of the family together on the balcony without Harry and Meghan was during the Queen's Platinum Jubilee celebration on the final day of June the 5th, 2022. Queen Elizabeth II can be seen with now King Charles III, now Queen Consort Camilla, Prince William, Duchess Kate, and their 3 kids, Prince Louis, Prince George, and Princess Charlotte. The royal family looks very happy to be celebrating the Queen's long reign. The Queen herself looks amazing in her vibrant green suit. However, in video footage from the time the family was on the balcony, the Queen does seemingly have moments of looking a little sad, and gosh, I wonder what's going through her mind. It's also really sad that this celebratory day is one of their last big celebrations and moments photographed together. In our number 5 spot, we have Prince Harry at the Queen's funeral. These are a few of the last photos taken of Prince Harry at the Queen's funeral. Of course, these photos are terribly sad to see and dark, as he is not only attending the Queen's funeral, but his grandmother's funeral. In some of the photos, you see the prince crying and hiding his face, and then you also see him walking during the service holding his wife Meghan Markle's hand. The prince stepped down from the royal family and gave up his name, and so during the funeral, we saw him be quite separated from his royal family. It was rumored that the prince and Meghan were snubbed for the funeral procession as they were seated in the second row behind the royal family, but whether that is protocol or snubbery, that has not been confirmed. Assuming it was protocol, that must have been so hard on him to not be able to fully be present with his family during this time, but hopefully he was included in ways we did not see. After Meghan Markle's expose with Oprah and the interviews that Harry has also done commenting on his family, I'm not so sure of that, but hopefully the death of the Queen will bring the family closer together again. In our number 4 spot, we have Prince William and Prince Harry together. One of the few photos captured at the funeral for Queen Elizabeth II is of Prince William and Prince Harry together, and these photos have had the world going crazy as to whether they are friendly or not. Some say that the two princes are not on good terms, while others say that they have made amends due to the passing of the Queen. What we are certain of is that they didn't seem to converse much during the service, and they definitely definitely felt a tad frosty to each other. Although it was obviously a sad day, and perhaps the coldness of the photos really had more to do with their sadness for their grandmother and them both retreating within themselves mentally, as people often do at funerals, rather than them just being in a massive fight that has forever split them apart. The brothers were seemingly so close growing up, and so I think I speak for everyone when I say that I hope whatever is going on with them gets mended, because life is too short. In our number 3 spot, we have Peter Phillips. Okay, I know what you might be thinking. Who? Peter Phillips is not a part of the immediate royal family, but he is the son of Princess Anne, the Queen's daughter, and so he is another one of her grandsons. And while a rather dark photo was captured of him at the Queen's funeral that I just have to share with you all, he was caught possibly exposing his own thoughts in a photo from September 19th, the Queen's funeral, as he's walking behind Prince Harry and, yes, Meghan Markle. In the photo, he is glaring at Meghan Markle. Was he captured in a moment of internal judgment? Whatever is going on, it is clear that he feels some kind of negative feelings toward Meghan, and I mean, most of the royal family seemingly does, as Meghan has been exposing the behind-the-scenes goings-on within the royal family. They have always been quite private, and the world saw them as a mystery, besides, well, some of the scandals that have happened over the years, but for the most part, they have remained quite private, so perhaps Peter feels uncomfortable with Meghan around, but in any case, this was a dark moment captured from that day. In our number 2 spot, we have Queen Elizabeth II waving to her father. Okay, I went back in the archives for this one. This photo honestly is super sad to see and quite dark, so I needed to add it to the list. In 1952, the Queen left for a trip to Kenya, and it was on this trip that she became Queen and learned of the death of her father, King George VI. In this photo we see right here, the Queen is looking at her father and waving to him for the last time. Whoa. Can you imagine if the last moment you had with your father was caught on camera? I'm sure this has been the case for a lot of people, but man, would that crumble me inside if that were to happen. It would be so sad, but also a gift as well. And when you think about it, the Queen looks quite happy in this photo, and so it's kinda a nice thought to think that perhaps one of the last moments that the King had with his daughter, she was smiling. Dark, but beautiful at the same time. Finally, in our number 1 spot, we have Prince Andrew at the funeral. Arguably one of the darkest last photos of one of the darkest royal family members, Prince Andrew is seen walking with his siblings and the new king from Westminster Hall to Westminster Abbey. He looks as one would expect one to look when their parent passes away, but it's hard to not look at him and see an aura of possibly someone who was involved with the horrendous crimes that were led by Jeffrey Epstein. After the public found out about Prince Andrew's relationship with Jeffrey and a lot of the suspicious activity that didn't get cleared up after Prince Andrew did an interview on the accusations, the prince resigned from his public roles, and the Queen herself removed his honorary military affiliations and royal charitable patronages in January 2022. Prince Andrew lobbied very hard to stop Charles from becoming king. Apparently Prince Andrew doesn't get on with King Charles III very well, so that's very interesting. Anyways, it's hard not to see a picture of him and immediately think dark.
Starting off this countdown, we have the ventriloquist doll. I don't know about you, but some dolls freak me out, like this one. This picture is the definition of creepy. Who said it was okay for that girl to bring her doll for the family photo? Or maybe that's their brother that got cursed and got transformed into a dummy. Or their brother wasn't available for the family photo, so they decided to make a lifelike doll of him, to take his place. Or the doll is haunted and is possessing their family. There's just too many options here, I swear, this is how dolls become haunted though. You start treating them like family, and next thing you know, a soul inhabits it. Didn't that happen to the famous haunted doll, Robert? Anyways, this picture would have been better off with just the girls and their little cat and dog. There was no need for the puppet doll as well. Moving on to number 9, we have What's on Your Mind. First off, shout out to the old hairstyles, glasses, and outfits. This must have been taken in the 70s. I mean, back then, this was probably a very cool artistic photo. But nowadays, it makes you wonder, why? Just why? Maybe it's symbolic, like the father has got his family constantly on his mind. That's a sweet message. But it also almost looks like a funeral card. Coming in at number 8, we have creepy Santa. What is going on with Santa in this picture? I guess this is a mask that the guy is wearing, but it's not jolly at all. No, he looks like a serial killer. No one should be brought near this Santa. He'll just scoop the kids in a bag and then take them off to hell or something. And that's probably why the kids look so frightened in the photo. They had to stand next to this creepy guy. Honestly, one look at this guy and I would have ran out of the room. Like, that's not Santa, that's my sleep paralysis demon. Seriously, where did they find this costume? The Halloween store? In our 7th spot, we have post-mortem photography. Back in the day, it was a trend for family members to take photos with their deceased relatives or loved ones. So photographers would prop the dead bodies up or display them so they kind of looked alive. And then family members would pose around them. This is what's happening in this photo. The individual on the floor sadly has passed away. Now what's creepy is that half of the family is smiling like nothing happened, whereas the other half look like they're in pain or just uncomfortable. Honestly, it's the fact that people are smiling around the dead body that creeps me out. Now, why did people do this back then? Well, for a number of reasons. First, it was a way to deal with their grief. Second, it helped preserve the image of the loved one that passed away. And third, it was like a little memento. This trend became common in Victorian England when there was a rise of short lifespans for the young, which is really sad. Moving on to number 6, we have these superheroes. So you know when you're growing up and you're all like, my mom and dad are my heroes. Well, this is certainly not what this kid meant by that. So I'm not gonna lie, the Superman and Wonder Woman costumes are actually really well done, minus the fact that Superman's logo is upside down. Hey, maybe he just didn't want to get copyrighted or something. But still, they look good. And then we have Spider-Man. You can tell by the expression on the kid's face that he is not comfortable with whatever is behind him, because that's not Spider-Man. More like, Spider-Man, this kid ain't going home, he's coming home with me. Also, smash that like button if you've seen the new Spider-Man movie. No spoilers, but let me know in the comments below if you liked it. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the inappropriate Christmas family photo. Take a look at this photo. How incredibly inappropriate and creepy. Like, you got the dad calling his 2 daughters hoes. I mean, it's a little funny, but it's very creepy. Like, whose idea was this? Also, what is that man doing with his wife's head? He's got like a claw hand on top of her. Is he trying to like hold her down? Also, no one in the photo looks like they're really enjoying this photo shoot. So I'll ask this again. Whose idea was this? I'd be mortified if I got this in the mail from any of my relatives. In our 4th spot, we have the ornaments. Whoever thought this next photo was a good idea needs to be fired. So this family went in for a cute Christmas photo shoot and then got edited as Christmas ornaments. Not gonna lie though, they all seem pretty happy, so maybe this is what they wanted. Like, it's kind of cute, but also they kind of look like Oompa Loompas. I bet this family looks back at this photo and they're like, what were we thinking? It's definitely coming back to haunt them. Like, people could use this photo as blackmail. I'm just kidding. It's not that bad compared to others on this list. It's more just like tacky than anything. Moving on to number 3, we have dad's legs. Whoever posed this family in the photo needs to be fired. They literally were like, okay, let's have you hugging your parents, and let's have the 2 oldest boys sitting cross-legged on the floor hugging their parents' legs. Yes, perfect, it looks great. Really captures their innocence. No, it's a little creepy, if you ask me. Like, the matching outfits are bad enough. The pose just pushes it over the top. It's actually hilarious. Like, look at the dad's Superman pose. He's so proud, like, yeah, this is my family. So regardless of the cringe factor, it kinda is cute. Just not a photo you should have framed and hanging in your home. Coming in at number 2, we have the, I honestly don't even know what to name this one. Just take a look. I don't know. They look like a lotus flower or something. Anyways, how the photographer managed to keep a straight face as the family stacked on top of each other and just spread their legs wide open is beyond me. But at the same time, it's impressive. Like, look how flexible they all are. Also, it's pretty trippy. Like, whose arms are whose? Whose legs are whose? It's a little mesmerizing, you know? Like, the longer you look at it, the more you get intrigued. But I bet that baby is haunted by this photo now. And in our number 1 spot today, we have What the Heck Is This? And I gave this point that name because when I saw the photos, I literally said, what the heck is this? So 4 years ago, Pam Zaring and her family got some photos done. They hired a photographer who claimed to be a professional, and she charged them $250 for a family photo shoot. And this is what they were given. Pam and her family actually found these photos so hilarious that she actually tweeted them out, and they went viral. She said, and I quote, "This is not a joke. We paid a photographer who claimed to be a professional $2 to $250 for a family photo shoot. Please see these for real photos she delivered to us." She said the shadows were really bad on the beautiful, clear, sunny day, and that her professor never taught her to retouch photos. Feel free to share. I literally have not laughed this hard in years. You can't make this stuff up. End of quote. Again, these photos were not a joke. They were the final product. And honestly, the shadows on the face were probably better than her removing their face completely and then making them look like aliens. Like, I can't believe the photographer really edited these and thought, perfect, much better. Yeah.
Starting off this countdown, we have the secret entrances. Just last year, a man claimed to have found 3 hidden entrances that lead to Area 51. He discovered this after using Google Earth. He compared images of the base from different time periods. In one particular area in 1998, there seems to be no roads or entrance. Satellite pictures of that same location in 2005, 2010, and 2013 show a road and a dead end with what looks like an entrance and tunnel carved into a mountain. In fact, at the dead end, there appears to be cars parked there. Seems unusual for people to just park there, because what is around for them to do? Wander the barren plain alone? No, they're parking their cars there and then entering Area 51 through this secret entrance. In our 9th spot, we have the alien craft. What I'm about to show you is a leaked video and some photos from Area 51 of an alien spacecraft test. The video features a flying object hovering in the sky and moving in ways that other crafts definitely don't do. This was recorded on May 15, 2017, and then was leaked years later. If this isn't actually a UFO, then what could it be? That's what's baffling people. The way it just moves up and down and side to side that quickly is very strange, especially because of its size. What do you think though? Is this proof that Area 51 has gotten their hands on an alien spacecraft? Moving on to number 8, we have the transportation of a UFO. When this next photo was leaked online, it was met with a number of conspiracy theories. So this is the image of the CIA transporting a large part for one of their top secret projects. In fact, when this was getting transported, the CIA sealed off the entire highway. And I'm sure you can see why this was met with a number of conspiracy theories. Like, look at the shape of the thing that they're transporting. That is definitely a UFO or part of a UFO spaceship. Now, this is where it gets even more interesting. Somehow, a group of bikers made it onto the road. When they were stopped by some soldiers, they asked what they were transporting, and the soldiers said they found a UFO up in the mountains. Now apparently he said this jokingly, but who knows? In our 7th spot, we have the Tic Tac UFO. Last year, another UFO was spotted near Area 51. This one was given the name the Tic Tac UFO because of its tic tac shape and white or bright appearance. So this spacecraft was caught on footage by a person driving along near Area 51. He was driving along the extraterrestrial highway. That's the name given to the highway in Nevada, as a number of UFOs have been seen by drivers while on this route. At first, the driver thought that what he was seeing was just a cloud. When he got closer to it, he realized that it was definitely a craft of some kind. Later on, alien hunter Scott Waring confirmed that the UFO was in fact alien in origin. Also, the area in which he was driving through had a number of wind farms in the area. Turns out that in the past, a lot of UFOs have been spotted around wind farms, and one UFO even crashed into a windmill many years back. Some say this is because aliens are fascinated with human technology. In our 6th spot, we have Stephen Barron.
In 2016, UFO hunter Steve Barron captured video and photographic evidence of another alien spacecraft close to Area 51. These were taken near his home in Las Vegas, Nevada, an hour drive from Area 51. Using a night vision camera, Steve head out to Red Rock Canyon to try and capture a UFO. The first couple of hours, there was nothing. Then he saw mysterious weird flashing lights appear over a mountain. He said this in regards to the UFO and its lights, and I quote, "First one, then two, then more and more. They put on a spectacular show. I am glad I was patient because the show they put on kept getting better and better." We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the CIA spy plane. In 2011, Los Angeles Times journalist Annie Jacobson published a book called Area 51, an uncensored history of America's top secret military base. In the book, she included a number of never-before-seen photos of the base. The first one I want to show you is of a CIA spy plane. This photo shows an A-12 ox cart hidden behind a barrier at Area 51. This was a top secret plane that was created to reach high speeds and altitudes. During the first 3 years of testing this plane, everything was kept top secret. In fact, the pilots weren't even allowed to tell their wives what they were working on. On May 24th, 1963, during a test flight, the plane crashed. The pilot, Ken Collins, was fine but had to eject himself out of the plane. But afterwards, the CIA actually injected him with sodium pentothal, aka truth serum, to then interrogate him after the crash. That's crazy. In our 4th spot, we have the rare photo. So this photo was also featured in Annie Jacobson's book Area 51, an uncensored history of America's top secret military base. In fact, this is a very rare photo that has never been published before. It was published for the first time in Annie's book, and that's it. This photo is an aerial view of Area 51 taken in 1964. I don't know why it was kept a secret for so long or how Annie got her hands on it, but she did and decided to share it with the world. Moving on at number 3, we have the early U-2 spy planes. In the early 1950s, at the peak of the Cold War, the CIA began to develop planes that they wanted to reach an altitude of 70,000 feet to avoid detection against Soviet radar. This gave birth to the U-2 spy planes that you see here in this picture. This photo was taken in Area 51 in 1956, and pictures of workers standing on the plane's wing. Sadly, at least 3 pilots lost their lives during test flights, including 2 at Area 51 and 1 at an Air Force base in Germany. Coming in at number 2, we have Boyd Bushman. Shortly before his death, former Area 51 engineer Boyd Bushman revealed that he encountered aliens while working at Area 51. In a video, Bushman shows a number of mysterious photos to the camera, including one of an alien and a number of photos of the alien's appendages.
We have a total of at least 18 that exist and operate with our facility.
Now, many people believe that this man is telling the truth. Why? Because he had nothing to gain or lose by sharing his story. Plus, an interrogator with the police studied Boyd's movements and speech pattern during this interview, and he said that it appears as if he's telling the truth. In the interview, he said that Area 51 has at least 18 of these aliens in their facility. He also claims that there are 2 groups of aliens. One group are called the Wranglers, the others are called the Rustlers. The aliens that are considered Wranglers are friendly and have a better relationship with humans. Rustlers, however, have been known to steal cattle. This is all insane. And in our number 1 spot today, we have Boyd Bushman and the UFO. During his interview, Boyd Bushman also revealed photos of real UFO spacecrafts that he saw while working at Area 51.
Up close and personal, this is a UFO which is ready to take off.
So that's a close-up photo of a UFO spacecraft taking off. Then he also showed a different photo of a UFO spacecraft with its lights turned off. What do you think though? Is Boyd telling the truth? Are those real photos of UFOs? Let me know in the comments below.
Coming into number 10, we have Up Close and Personal with Area 51. In September 2017, YouTube channel UFO Seekers did just that. They sought UFOs. What did they find? Well, you will see. Tim Lee and Tracy Doyle hiked up Tickaboo Peak, a 1.4 mile high mountain 25 miles opposite the military base. The duo used telescopic lenses to get the clearest possible photos photos of the secret base ever taken from outside by just a civilian. Although you can't see little aliens running around or anything, there are plenty of vehicles to be seen, plus an expansive building and water towers. It isn't too scary, but the video is super interesting, how they got there and everything, and actually it's quite tense. Had they been caught by authorities taking long lens images, then they really could have been in trouble. The video is 18 minutes long, but here is a clip of the YouTubers finding the base. The video has had over 2.4 million views. Perhaps the Kyles are watching it to swat up for their attack planned on the 20th of September. Kyles. Coming in at number 9, we have even closer, if you can imagine it. This is one of the closest ever images taken of Area 51. It was taken from a light aircraft and is in the Nevada Aerospace Hall of Fame right now. Here we can see a much closer overview of the whole compound, something that would have been classified just a few years ago. Coming into number 8, we have the airstrip. In 2013, some documents about Area 51 were declassified, although many criticized the response to the Freedom of Information request to having been underwhelming, featuring heavily redacted information. Nonetheless, in 2016, the US did permit Google Earth to photograph the area, which had previously been a no-fly zone. Now you too can view the facility from a bird's eye view. You can check it out and see what's going on, although from very high in the sky. From browsing Google, around 12 miles north of Area 51, there seems to be an unexplained airstrip coming in at around 1 mile long. There is also a visible cluster of buildings at the end of the strip, which is kind of baffling. We've got no idea what's being tested here. According to intel from the website Live Science though, it is thought that the space could be used to test reconnaissance drones. Coming into number 7, we have the Paradise trailers. Area 51 used to be colloquially known as Paradise Ranch in order to make it sound more appealing to families of workers. I suppose it's a lot to ask a person to relocate to the middle of the desert, so why not rebrand the place Paradise and make it sound more appealing? An image has been released of the Paradise era showing a number of trailers at the facility. Is this where families lived, or was it home to aliens? It's kind of cool seeing how things used to be in its heyday, assuming its heyday's over. We just don't know. Alright, coming into number 6, this is the big one. It is the alien autopsy. The alien autopsy was reportedly shot in Area 51 and depicts the aliens that were transported to the facility from Roswell after the 1947 crash. The crash was said to have been of a flying disc UFO and was said to have contained wounded aliens. The video was released in 1995 by Ray Santilli, who said that the footage had been supplied to him by a former military camera technician who wanted to remain anonymous, obviously. Let's have a little look at the footage, shall we? I mean, that is a dead alien right there, right? But like, is it? The footage absolutely blew up in 1995, but people were quick to call it a fraud. In the end, Santilli claimed that yeah, only part of the footage was real. He said that only a few frames from the original footage were there, but they were there. He also said the rest had been replicated and was a reconstruction of footage he had but was damaged. Sounds likely. Coming into number 5, we have the Roswell rescue. Footage claiming to be from the Roswell fallout surfaced on the internet in 2015 and alleges to show agents holding alien corpses and taking them on a stretcher. Have a little look. I don't know, it kind of looks a bit sketchy, right? Can we get another look? I guess it was 1947, so we can't expect too much film-wise, but I'm not sure this is quite the smoking gun we were looking for. The video has had around 160,000 views on YouTube, but the like to dislike ratio suggests that some people may not be too convinced as to its authenticity. One of my favourite comments on the video comes from Mr. Saturday Night Special, who wrote, "This has to be real. Everyone knows when you travel across the universe, you don't wear clothes. Just ask Chewbacca. He'll tell you, you're right. You know what? Are we the only species that like to cover our modesty? All of these aliens crashing, like, where are their little alien suits? Come on." Coming into number 4, we have Kodak confirms, allegedly anyway. In 2014, a UFO expert, Tom Carey, was sent images from a woman who wished to remain anonymous, but claimed that she had worked with the Secret Service. The image was reportedly taken at Area 51 following the Roswell crash and seems to show a bug-like alien. Let's have a look, shall we? The image seems to support what a number of people who used to work at the Area 51 have said about the facility, including Robert Lazar and staff members from the esteemed Lockheed Martin firm. But like seriously, come on, is this an actual image of an alien? Can we trust anything in the age of Photoshop? It seems that Carey thought of that and sent the image to Kodak themselves, who were able to confirm that it was taken in 1947. Again, allegedly. If they sent him a letter saying this, then I haven't seen it. When speaking to the press, Carey said, "What's interesting is that the film is dated in 1947. We took it to the official historian of Kodak up in Rochester, New York, and he did his due diligence on it, and he said that yes, this film strip and the slides are from 1947. It's 1947 stock. From the emulsion on the image, it's not something like's been photoshopped today. If Kodak did call this authentic, I haven't seen any certification." Coming into number 3, we have another alien, of course. In 2012, Chicago videographer Adam Dew received a call from his former business partner Joseph Beeson. He claimed that he had something to show him, and boy did he. Beeson had a private disposal unit sister, and she'd come across a box of photographs that seemed to have been taken by someone close to President Eisenhower. He was in a number of the images himself, as were Bing Crosby and Clark Gable. 2 of the images she had been tasked with disposing were absolutely outrageous. Get a load of them for yourself. That's right, it is a small withered brown body of an alien in a glass case. And this was all among the images of the president, which is pretty crazy. The images were found in the garage of a woman named Hilda Blair Ray near Sedona in Arizona. Now the pair did believe that the images were linked to Area 51 and Roswell. They sent the images to none other than Tom Carey. Tom once again believed that the images looked just like what witnesses had described in the Roswell crash. Let's have another look, shall we? It really does kind of look like an alien wrapped in some kind of cloth, but unfortunately for Tom Carey, the image turned out to be of a mummified corpse of an Aztec child and not a secret leak from Area 51. Our final 2, I have to say, are pretty convincing. It's not alien stuff, but I do think that these are secret pictures from Area 51. Coming into number 2, we have the strange plane. Here's an image of something that looks like a strange aircraft, or something reportedly taken at Area 51 anyway. It is known that the United States Air Force is present at the facility, and several spy planes have been developed there, including the U-2 spy plane and the SR-71 Blackbird, and possibly others like the rumored Aurora project. So, what is the plane in this image? I don't actually know. Could it be one of the alien aircraft that allegedly whistleblower Bob Lazar talked about reverse engineering? Or is it another spy plane? Finally, coming into number 1, we have an image of a secret plane crash covered up. It seems an A-12 spy plane, possibly the one pictured above, crashed in 1963 after taking off from the secret airbase. The crash happened in Wendover, Utah when Area 51 pilot Ken Colmer was testing the plane's subsonic engines at low altitude. The pilot ejected from the plane crash, after which he was subjected to hypnosis and doping to make sure that he relayed the incident and how it occurred honestly and truthfully. Here are the previously classified images of the crash. Now, as you can see, vehicles raced to recover the wreckage, which was extremely sensitive to the United States Air Force. It seems a government sanitation team was deployed to remove all traces of the spy plane. To me, that sounds very, very strange. So too does it that they kept the images of this plane crash a secret for such a long time. Do you think it really was a spy plane that crashed, or, given the response, something much more sensitive?
Starting off at number 10 now, we have The Visitor. This one comes from a Reddit user called Fan and Depressed. They posted this picture with the caption, "Got a notification from my smart home app in the middle of the night saying your doorbell detected a visitor." That's all he put, and that's all that was needed. He posted it to the creepy subreddit. It has gained over 34,000 upvotes. One of the top comments said, "Why are you doing this? Because you were home." That's a quote from the movie Strangers, where some twisted home invaders give their reason for terrorizing a woman in her home. It's a great movie, and yeah, it does remind me of this too. Can you imagine how terrifying it would be to see this on your phone app in the middle of the night? There was no follow-up story to this, I just hope they were alright. Next up at number 9 now, we have the mummified captain. This is the disturbing story of Manfred Fritz Bajorat, a German man who was found in his boat by 2 fishermen off the coast of the Philippines. He was dead. His corpse had been preserved by dry ocean winds, hot temperatures and the salty sea air. It could not be determined how long he had been dead for, but he hadn't been seen by anyone for 7 years. He'd actually been sailing the world on his yacht for the past 20 years. It's thought that from the way he was sitting, death was unexpected, perhaps from a heart attack. The police said there was no evidence of a second person aboard and no weapon was found on board the yacht. Moving on to number 8 now, we have Home. This is a 1948 picture of a girl who grew up in a Nazi concentration camp. Now she was asked to draw what home was, and this is what she drew. The photograph was taken by David Seymour in a home for emotionally disturbed children located in Warsaw. Not much is known about the girl other than her name, Teresa. The swirling lines are a stark reminder of horrors of the Holocaust. More than 1.5 million Jewish children were killed in the Holocaust. Those that survived often ended up like Teresa, lost, shocked and unable to grasp a simple concept like home. Moving on to number 7 now, we have Obsession. George Karl Tanzler was a radiology technician from Germany. He moved to Florida where he married Maria de Hoyos, a local Cuban American woman. She died of tuberculosis 5 years later despite his best efforts to save her. He wouldn't accept her death though. After her funeral, George dug up Maria's body and took her to his home. He attempted to preserve her. This is the picture of his efforts. He attached her bones together with wire and coat hangers and fitted her face with glass eyes. He replaced her skin with silk cloth soaked in wax. He gave her a wig and filled her insides with rags. He covered her in jewelry and the smell was masked with copious amounts of perfume. The body was eventually discovered by authorities a full 9 years after he first removed her from her resting place. Next up at number 6 now, we have the catacombs. This is a very disturbing picture. Please look away now if you're sensitive to death and all that kind of thing. This is the story of Masha, a Ukrainian woman who went out with a large group of friends to celebrate New Year's Eve in 2005. It was a foggy night with temperatures around freezing. The group stumbled into the Odessa catacombs, an ancient tunnel and cave system that spans for over 1,500 miles. Somehow Masha became separated from her group and got lost in the dark. She seems to have wandered for days with no food or water before slipping into a coma and then death. Her body wasn't discovered for months until this picture was taken by some local boys who found her. Still, she wasn't retrieved by authorities for a further 2 years. When the story was shared on Reddit, people tried to imagine how terrifying it must be to be lost in the dark like that, pitch black darkness, unable to see any difference between your eyes being closed and open, and totally alone. Moving on to number 5 now, we have shell-shocked. In World War I, there were hundreds of thousands of soldiers who got shell-shock, a type of PTSD brought on from the endless bombardment they had to endure. Tens of thousands of soldiers were treated for the disorder. Victims were said to have a 1,000-yard stare, looking into the distance as their mind went blank. Here is a famous picture from a soldier during the Battle of the Somme, a battle which killed 3 million men. This man appears to be suffering from shell shock. He has a crazed look in his eyes that is often associated with those who had shell shock. It's an image that has become increasingly associated with war, especially the hell that was World War I. Next up at number 4 now, we have the subway. In 2012, the New York Post ran a story with this picture. It was of Ki Suk Han, a 58-year-old man who was pushed onto the tracks by a stranger. He was fatally struck by a train seconds later. The suspect was 30-year-old Naeem Davis, who confessed to pushing the innocent man onto the tracks. The picture shocked New Yorkers and people around the world. Why was someone taking a picture instead of trying to help? Should the New York Post even have ran that story and published that picture? What do you guys think? Next up at number 3 now, we have Madame Violet. This is a picture of Violet Spears, otherwise known as Madame Violet. She was the leader of a group of real-life vampires in Edinburgh in the late 19th century. They were called the Hive. They became known as lovely but dangerous partiers, seducing men and women with drugs and alcohol and then making them donate their blood to them, so to speak. Some of the victims even joined the Hive and she became their leader too. In 1882 and 1884, she was apparently voted the scariest woman in England, even though she never left Scotland. That's how scary she is. She scared fled another country she didn't even live in. Moving on to number 2 now, we have the vulture and the little girl. On March 26, 1993, the New York Times shared a picture known as Struggling Girl. It showed a famine-stricken boy, initially believed to be a girl, who had collapsed from malnutrition during a famine in South Sudan. In the background, a vulture waits patiently. These birds have a keen sense of death, and this one has its eyes on the boy. The picture shocked the world. The photographer, Kevin Carter, was awarded the Pulitzer Prize for his photography. He actually killed himself just 4 months later. The reasons are largely unknown, but many people speculate that pictures like this can drive anyone down a dark path. And finally, number 1 now, we have the Hiroshima shadows. When the US dropped a nuclear bomb on Japan's Hiroshima, over 100,000 people were killed. Some of them who were close enough were literally vaporized into thin air. The intense heat of the explosion caused what's now called nuclear shadows. The blast forever changed services because of the UV radiation. Services that were blocked by people looked different to its surroundings, leaving a sort of permanent shadow of the person who was vaporized. This is one of the most striking images for me. What appears to be an old person stood at the bottom of the steps. You can even see the cane in their hand. It's a shocking reminder of how destructive weapons of war have become, how quickly life can be snuffed out in an instant, leaving only a shadow behind.